Welcome to Classroom Idaho. Learn at Home, Fall 2020, a partnership of the Idaho State Board of Education, the Boise School District, and Idaho Public Television.
Hello everyone, my name is Allie Howell and I am a teacher with the Nampa School District. And what I do with the Nampa School District is I help out with our English language learners. And we are here with Miss Chelsea Jordan.
Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea Jordan and I work at the English Language Center in Boise, Idaho, and we teach adult English language learners about living in the United States and some English to help them live in the United States. So I'm so happy to be here and I'm excited for our story today.
That's right. So yes, everybody, we are here to read through a story and we're going to be discussing some different ideas and elements that come from our story. Our story is called A Sweet Apple, written by Kedar Shrestha, illustrated by Benita Buddhakaraya. The publisher was Room to Read and the genre is realistic fiction.
All right, everyone. So before we read our story, I'd like us to think about some ideas that are related to the story so we can get thinking about the topic and the theme and just start thinking about this interesting story. So I have some questions for everyone. And this main idea, is there a right way? Is there a right way to do things? So let's think about these two questions. And one of them is, has anyone ever told you that you are doing something the wrong way? And how did that make you feel? So let's think about this question.
And I'm sorry, when you say the right way, do you mean that it's correct? That there is a specific way that things are done correctly?
Yeah, so maybe that isn't the right way to think, but that's what we're thinking of right now, is that, you know, sometimes we think that there's the right way to do something, the correct way to do something. And so maybe you've been told in your life that you were doing something wrong, and the way that you did something was the wrong way. So think about that kind of idea. Miss Allie, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, actually. So I don't know if you knew, Miss Chelsea, but my first language was Spanish. So when I first started speaking English, I used to say, wash my teeth. And I know that in Spanish, we say it that way, lavar los dientes. So lavar means wash. So when we talked about brushing our teeth in school, I would say, oh, I wash my teeth. And I know people would laugh at me and they say, you don't say wash. That's not the right way. The right way is brush your teeth. But it got me thinking, I am washing my teeth. So I don't know. So it made me feel really nervous, number one, because I felt like I was doing something wrong. But it did make me think about whether or not I was wrong, which I don't think I was wrong. It was just different.
Yeah, I like that example. I was thinking of a project I did in school when I was a kid, and everyone else was cutting all of the pictures out in squares, and I was cutting them out in all different shapes because I liked the look of the different shapes. And I remember some of my classmates were making fun of me for cutting out the pictures in different shapes. And they said that that wasn't the right way to cut out the shapes. And I was like so confused. And because I didn't know that everybody else was going to cut them in a square or a rectangle. And so ever since that happened, I was always nervous about how I cut my papers. And so now I don't even like to use scissors to cut anything out because I have that feeling that I'm doing it wrong again. So, I mean, I've seen that poster I made it now, and I think it looks cute, but it wasn't the same as everybody else's, and I feel like that's why people said it was the wrong way.
I understand that. Yeah, that's not very nice to be told that you're doing something the wrong way, especially when, I don't know, did you get instructions on how to cut it?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't think there was, you're supposed to cut them out. But that's a good point. Sometimes we get instructions and they have to be the correct way, right? There's a certain way to do it if there's written instructions, but I don't think there was. I think I just liked it, the different look of the shapes.
Well, you know what I did notice? I said nervous, that you felt nervous, and I also said that I felt nervous. So when people tell us that we're doing something the wrong way, we get nervous. So what is that feeling of nervousness? Is it like fear?
Yeah, I think it's maybe fear of being different from other people or not having people like you. That could be one of the
That's true.
reasons.
Especially when we're young, I feel that we are trying to make friends with everyone around us, and the fear of not being able to fit in because you did something differently is definitely a way of getting that nervous feeling.
Yeah, I agree. So I can think we can both agree that that nervous feeling is not pleasant. It's not a good feeling. We don't like that feeling. And sometimes we take it with us for our lives. It can follow us. And so that's kind of the idea of our story is being different and thinking about things differently and just thinking, is doing things different wrong? And so we have an example here of a holiday Christmas, and maybe not everybody at home knows the holiday Christmas, but it is a holiday that's celebrated by people all over the world, and it is a prominent holiday in the United States that's celebrated in December. December 25th specifically in the US is when we celebrate it. And so I think maybe if the people at home have heard of this holiday, have heard of Christmas, maybe they could picture in their minds what they think of when they hear Christmas or when they think of Christmas. What do they think of? Let's think a little bit. Okay. So I had some thoughts and I made some pictures. I put some pictures up of what I think of when I think of Christmas. And I'd like you, Miss Allie, and the people at home to look at my pictures and we will talk about it. So when I think of Christmas, I think of Santa Claus. Miss Allie?
Yeah, I agree. I think of Santa Claus, and I see that you have a tree that is decorated with some decorations that are red and silver and some gifts underneath the tree.
Yes.
I know that at least for how I have celebrated Christmas, on December 24th, the tree usually has only a few presents, and then on December 25th, you wake up in the morning and there's not necessarily magically, but we say magically there's more presents because a man named Santa Claus has shown up overnight to deliver those presents.
Yeah, and that's exactly what. And in my family, so I think that, those are things, but when I think of Christmas specifically, I always think of gingerbread houses because my family always decorates a gingerbread house every Christmas. And we usually also decorate Christmas cookies on Christmas Eve, which is the day before, the 24th. And so I put those two pictures there. And then I put a picture of this food because I thought it was the kind of food that I usually see on my Christmas table is like a turkey or a ham that's roasted and then some vegetables and bread and those types of things. Is this kind of similar to what you were thinking of for Christmas, Miss Allie?
Well, The way I celebrate Christmas now, yes, this is the way that I celebrate it now. We don't make cookies, but I do know a lot of my friends make cookies, and then the gingerbread houses. I do notice you have the turkey there, and it's funny because when I was growing up, we didn't have turkey. We actually made what's called pozole, and I am Mexican, so my household is Hispanic. So we have some different traditions. So instead of making a
Mm.
turkey or a ham, we would make pozole, which was a stew or is a stew with corn kernels, and sometimes they either make it out of chicken or pork, and we drink a drink called ponche also with it.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of a drink called eggnog, which we can sometimes have in my house. Yeah, it's interesting that, did you grow up here, Miss Allie?
I did actually. Well, I did not grow up in Idaho. I grew up in Chicago, which is a few states away.
Mhm.
But again, my family was Hispanic, and we kept our traditions while I was growing up. But when I moved out here to Idaho and I married my husband, my traditions have changed. And I mean, I keep a few of the things, like I still make ponche. Um, and once in a while, I'll make pozole. But for the most part, at Christmas time, we'll have turkey and have the
Mhm.
tree and the cookies. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't make cookies. But my mother-in-law loves to make cookies.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard of some people, so it sounds like we had some different celebrations. I know I'm looking at the tree and I'm remembering that sometimes some people open up gifts on the 24th or maybe one gift on the 24th, while some people only open on the 25th. So I think that's something else I was thinking of differently within the United States that I know of.
Hmm. That's true. But remember,
Yeah.
we have a lot of people in the United States that what's nice about it is that we can all celebrate however we want. Uh, but I think what we're talking about today is more of the more traditional Christmas celebrations that we have here.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because I might have a more traditional way of celebrating Christmas, but there's people all over this country that may celebrate it differently than me, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just different, right?
Exactly.
Um, so even in the United States, we have different celebrations, just like Miss Allie and I. We both live in Idaho, but we still have different celebrations, and that doesn't mean that it's wrong. And there's actually an interesting example. And I learned a little bit more about Colombia and how they celebrate Christmas. And I learned that they do celebrate with a tree usually. But it seemed when I was learning about it that they have a lot of the month of December is kind of a big celebration of this holiday. And it has a more religious undertone to it than maybe it does for some people in the United States. And so they have the celebrations, and I'm gonna let Miss Allie read the Spanish version of this. Day of the Little Candles. What is it in Spanish?
Velitas, Dia de las Velitas, which means
Okay.
the day of the little candles.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of this about candles. Like it's very common, I guess, in Colombia to have candles to celebrate this time of the year. And like they usually eat this food that's down here in the corner, and it's called empanadas.
So empanadas, I just wanted to say what it means. So the word pan, P-A-N, pan is bread. So when we say empanadas, it means that it's something surrounded by bread.
Ah,
So then they're empanadas. So if we look at the picture, it looks like bread. So they bake different things into it. Some of them are sweet, so they'll have like a custard or a chocolate filling. And some of them are salty and savory, and so they'll have maybe like a potato filling or meat filling, so that kind of thing.
they sound very good. I personally, I don't know, my family doesn't celebrate Christmas in a religious way, but I know that some people do. And I know that in Colombia, a lot of people are Catholic and they might go to a mass on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And so that's that picture here. So I thought that was interesting that, within the United States, we have different celebrations, but even in different countries, there's a way of celebrating that's different.
Yep. And Miss Chelsea, I hope you don't mind, but I threw in some information about Mexico because, like I was saying, I grew up in Chicago, but my family is from Mexico. So if you want to roll on to the next slide, and I'll tell a little bit about the celebrations that they have in Mexico. And like I said, I grew up in Chicago. However, sometimes we would go around Christmas time to Mexico. So I would celebrate it differently when I went down for Christmas. So, yeah. So in Mexico, many people decorate with a nativity scene instead of a Christmas tree. So if you look at the top right picture, they'll have baby Jesus with Mary and Joseph, and then the three kings who visited. And so this is a very religious holiday in Mexico, and so many people go to services in the Catholic churches, and that's why we have the nativity scene more than a tree. I mean, I've seen trees more the last few years, but for the most part, households have the nativity scene because it's related to their Catholic beliefs. We also have presents brought, but they're brought by baby Jesus. They're not brought by Santa Claus. And remember that drink I was telling you, ponche? If you look at the picture in the middle, it's made with a flower that's called Jamaica flower, which I think we call it hibiscus here, a hibiscus flower. And they put nuts and fruits and sugar cane slices into the punch. And it's kind of like I almost think of it like cranberry, like a warm cranberry juice with fruit in it. And then finally, we do posadas, which is where a group of people get together and we go around the neighborhood and sing. And we'll walk around with the little the sparklers, and people will get dressed warmly because it's a little bit chilly at nighttime. But we'll go around and we'll sing basically Christmas carols, but Mexican ones. So it's a pretty fun time down there too.
As we've seen here, just with one simple thing like Christmas, there's lots of different ways of doing it, but I don't think if you spoke to somebody from Mexico, they wouldn't say it's wrong, even though it might seem different to the people who celebrate it in the United States a different way.
Exactly. And that's the idea we want you guys to have, is that things are different, especially because of the family you're born into or your own ideas and opinions. And just because you're different doesn't mean you're wrong.
That's a great message. And so just like we said, this is one way of celebrating Christmas more right than another. I don't think so, right? We've just said like it's all okay. Different isn't wrong.
Okay, everyone. So I wanted to talk to you about where we got our story this week from. We got it from the Asia Foundation, which is an initiative to get stories about from Asia area. Asia is a continent that includes countries like China, India, and parts of Indonesia, I believe also. And they have a lot of stories for us to read from their culture. The Asia Foundation got this story through Storyweaver as well. And so if you wanted to go check out those two websites for more stories like this one, you can go to letsreadasia.org or storyweaver.org.in. So we'll give you a few seconds to write those down if you wanted to.
All right, so let's begin our story. So our story today is called A Sweet Apple. That is the title of our story. And here we have the beginning. Let's go. So Rajani loves to draw using her imagination. However, her mother always wonders why Rajani's drawings aren't more realistic. How can Rajani show her mother that there's not just one right way to draw?
Ooh, can I pause you, Miss Chelsea?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sorry, I forgot to talk about the genre for this story, which was realistic fiction. And right here it talks about being realistic. So realistic means when things could happen, that they might happen in real life. So if our story is realistic fiction, it means that it could happen in real life. It's still fiction because it's not real. There's not a real girl named Rajani, and but the story could happen or could have happened to someone.
great. And I wanted to focus, we didn't do a lot of vocabulary building for this story, but there is this word imagination. And Miss Allie, do you know what imagination means?
Yeah, our imagination is the things that our mind thinks. And what's really cool about imagination is that it takes what we see and we can create new ideas from the things that we see, we feel, we hear, that we touch, even the things that we taste. And so we can use our imagination to basically create new ideas or even think about things in our head without them being there. So say, for example, we're going to use our imagination right now. Miss Chelsea, I want you to close your eyes. And I'm going to tell you a place where we might be. Okay, under your toes, you feel sand. And in the background, you hear whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And it's really hot. Okay, and then you look down and you're wearing a swimsuit. And then you look forward and you see waves. Okay, open your eyes, Miss Chelsea. Where were you?
I felt like I was at the beach.
Yeah, you just used your imagination to take your mind to the beach based on what I was telling you.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you so much for explaining that word because I think it's really important for this story. So let's begin. Rajani starts to color. Shouldn't the sun be yellow, dear? Asks her mother. But this is the early morning sun, mother, says Rajani.
So she's saying the early morning sun. So I don't know if you have ever woken up really early when the sun is starting to come up above the horizon. That's the line of the edge of this where the sky meets the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not bright yellow. Sometimes it could be red because it's just barely coming out.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that. And I remember that we spoke about fires earlier this year. And the sun was like red, neon red, kind of pink almost during the fires. So maybe she was painting that sun too.
Yeah.
Okay. Rajani colors a leaf brown. Shouldn't the leaf be green, dear? Asks her mother.
That makes me think about what's happening outside right now. The trees are starting to turn color on their leaves. I see some of them are turning yellow, some of them are turning red, and some of them are going brown as they are dropped off of the tree. So they're not always green.
Exactly. That's true. But this is a dry leaf, mother. So just like Miss Allie said, I think she was painting a different type of leaf, but there are brown leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Look, mother, I painted a beautiful flower. Our flowers are red, dear, says her mother. But the flowers at my school are yellow, mother.
Here, I think it depends on what they were thinking about. So the mother was talking about the flowers that they have at their house. And in the picture, I see the mom holding a little pot. And yeah, the flowers at their house are red. But in Rajani's mind, she's thinking about a different place where she saw different flowers that were yellow.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Rajani paints a gray sky. Shouldn't the sky be blue, dear? Asks her mother. The sky looks dark at night, mother.
So yeah, I think that her mother was thinking that she should be drawing the sky during the daytime, but at nighttime, the sky is definitely much, much darker.
It is. And I think it's also, their sky is different colors all the time. You know, when we think of a picture of the sky, we think of blue, but I mean, Rajani showed me that, you know, really our sky is sometimes pink and sometimes orange and sometimes dark, and there's always different colors. Rajani paints an apple. Shouldn't that be red? Asks her mother. This is an unripe apple, Mother. Most green apples are sour, dear, says her mother.
So here they're talking about the different types of apples. And I know that depending on the tree, you could have red apples, yellow apples, green apples, and many, many others. But Rajani is not talking about a different type of apple. I think she's talking, well, she said unripe. And I remember we talked about ripe before. And ripe means when something is ready to be eaten. But she's saying that the apple is unripe. And that means it's not ready to be eaten, so it's extra sour.
Why do you worry, Mother? Here is a sweet apple for you, says Rajani. I can see that her apple that she's giving her mother is red. So she's making her mother happy, maybe.
So I noticed that in the story, Rajani is thinking of things a different way than her mother is. Mm-hmm. And that takes me back to what we were talking about, is either one of them right?
Yeah, I think that's definitely we can definitely think about that. And I don't think we should think if anything's wrong or right? We can think of it differently.
Because we are different. We all can have different opinions, and that's okay.
After we've read this story, I think, you know, based on what we've talked about with Christmas and talking about how just being different isn't wrong, what can we learn from Rajani? So let's think a little bit and think about just that overarching idea of what did we learn from Rajani in this story?
So let's take a little bit of time to think. And while you do that, we're going to move to a different app so that you can see our discussion about Rajani.
Yeah. So if you're at home, you can also take out a piece of paper and a pen and write down the same thing that Miss Allie has on her computer, Rajani, and then you can jot down ideas of what you think of when you think of her. What kind of words do you think of when you think about Rajani?
And so what we're going to be doing is using a circle map, which allows us to kind of brainstorm. So you put your idea in the middle, and then you can write around it to put down your ideas.
Yes. So let's think, what do we think of? So the first word that came to my mind was imaginative.
And I like that you said that, because we talked about imagination earlier, and it's about all of the ideas that we have in our head that we can create things with. They might not be real, but it's our own ideas.
Exactly. So I thought of imaginative.
Okay. I also thought of, well, I want to say different, but it's not that she was different, but she just had a different point of view. Could I say it like that? Just different point of view?
Yeah, different points of view.
And a point of view is just having a different opinion than what other people think.
Exactly. And in your lives, you've probably found many, many different people that have different points of views than you. And I think it is important to understand that just because it's different than yours, it's okay. It can be something very simple, like what's the best restaurant in the world, right? Somebody might have a different idea than you, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong.
So you might see things one way, and I'm drawing a couple of eyes here. I'm thinking you might see things one way. Well, actually, I want to draw a different kind of eye. I know in some cartoons we see this kind of eye, the one on the right, but some people draw their eyes with the eyelashes. So
Yeah,
that's also a different point of view.
definitely. Another word I thought of when we're thinking about this story in Rajani, I thought of creative.
Mm-hmm. So creative is a word that we use to describe someone who likes to come up with new ideas. So sometimes you'll see it like a head with a light bulb, because you're coming up with new ideas. Yeah.
Let's see, what else?
I think that Rajani is very caring. She thinks about others. Like at the very end, whoops, I dropped my pen. 1 second.
It's okay. Caring.
Yeah, so at the very end, her mother receives a gift from Rajani. Rajani draws her an apple that is red because her mother was talking about liking sweet apples.
Yeah, I like that. And the idea I had was similar, thoughtful. I thought she was thoughtful because, first of all, in her painting, I think to paint something that's maybe different than the traditional way of painting is thoughtful. And then I also thought that she was just thoughtful to talk to think of her mom.
Mm-hmm. So what, like that, because she thought of others, not just herself.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a word for that?
Of sorry, what'd you say?
When you think of others and not just yourself. And I'm thinking of selfish, but when you think of only yourself, what is the word?
The opposite of selfish is selfless in my mind, but I don't know if that was the word you were thinking of.
I don't know, but that could be a word we can add, selfless.
I also thought she was patient.
Yeah.
Because her mom was always questioning her and asking why she painted something different. And she always was patient with her mom and just said, "It's because of this, mother." She wasn't angry. She never was angry. She was very patient.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to draw a clock under patient, because sometimes when we think of patience, we think of time, and we give a lot of time to people with our patience, because we know that they maybe need more time to, I don't know, think about what they're talking about, or to share what they're thinking. So patient. She definitely was patient.
Mm-hmm. I think all of these words are very nice words. If somebody described me as thoughtful, caring, selfless, creative, imaginative, I would be very happy to hear these words.
Would you say that Rajani is a happy person?
Happy?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. She was always smiling in the photos.
Yeah. And just like you said, she never got angry when her mother disagreed with what she was thinking.
And I think that it's almost sometimes brave to be different and to, no matter how many times her mother said, well, that is not a green leaf, or that is not a yellow sun, or those aren't red flowers. She kept going. There was so many examples of her painting something in a different way. She never gave up. So she, in my mind, is brave.
Yeah. So when you're brave, I'm not sure what brave means. Is that when even though something is going wrong, you still keep going?
Yes, and I think it's about being willing to try new things and have a different point of view. Even if somebody says something opposite of what you think, you stand up for that. And that is something that makes you brave.
Gotcha. Ooh, I like how you said that. Stand up. Stand up. Yeah. I think we talked about that one also in one of our other stories. And I would like to add one more that's positive. Because every time her mom would say that she thought that she meant something else, she kept being positive. And like we said, she didn't get angry. So she was always positive and kind when she responded to her mom. So when we think positive, I think of a cross or a plus sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think that these are wonderful, wonderful words to describe somebody. I would be happy to be described like with these words. And so I think it's a good lesson to learn from Rajani that being different and thinking differently is not wrong, and you can be seen in a good way from other people.
Exactly.
Okay, so we thought about how Rajani is all of these beautiful words. She's thoughtful and imaginative and caring and positive. And I think underlying all of that is that she was herself, right? And we talk about that. When you be yourself, that means to be true to who you are, and doesn't matter what people think or say about you, but to be what you want to do and do what you want to do, no matter what people say. So we want to think about some ways that you can help yourself be yourself.
That's right. So one way is to celebrate your strengths, be unique. So I want you at home right now to think about what is a strength that you have, something that you are good at. What makes you unique? And unique means that what makes you different than others? What makes you special? All right, Miss Chelsea, do you have a strength or something that makes you unique?
I like to say that one of my strengths is making people feel comfortable. So if there's a new person in my friend group, or somebody that looks kind of like they're confused or lost, or they look a little bit nervous, I think I'm really good at making people feel comfortable when they feel a little bit uncomfortable in a situation.
That's a really great skill to have, especially because you are thinking about others and including them in what you're doing.
Thank you. What about you?
I was actually thinking something very similar.
Oh.
So I work in Nampa and I work at a school. And one of the things that I do is help the Spanish speaking community because I speak Spanish. So I use that as a strength because when parents that do not speak English need help, I help them by speaking to the teachers for them, or if they have a question about information that they are getting from our school, I translate. That means that I make it understandable for them in Spanish from English. So I feel that I help our Spanish speaking families a lot in our building.
That is wonderful. I'm sure they really appreciate that.
And I hope you guys at home were thinking of things that make you unique or a strength that you have. And we gave you some things that we do, and I'm guessing you are maybe a bit younger than we are. So I want you to think of things like things that you enjoy. maybe are you good at singing? Do you like drawing? Are you good at a sport? Maybe you like to ride your bike a lot. So all of those can also be strengths. One way to show those strengths is to be confident. Now, confident means when you feel really good about yourself, and you show it by not being timid or by speaking out when you are able to.
Yeah.
Do you have an example of being confident, Miss Chelsea?
Let's see. Yeah, I think I was meeting new friends, and I said, if I'm looking confident and if I'm showing my true self, right? If I am confident in who I am, then my new people I'm meeting that are new will see that, and it'll be good. And so I wasn't shy. I went and talked to new people, even though I didn't know them. I went and I just made myself go and talk to them so that, they would see that I'm a friendly and open person.
I like that you said the word shy, because I often think of a confident person as not being shy. So maybe that could be like the opposite. And it's okay if you're shy. Maybe you can work up to being confident, especially when you're using your strengths. So just like you said, you were confident when you were making friends, and that could be a strength of yours.
Yeah, and I think I used to be really shy. When I was a kid, I really didn't like talking to new people, and I was scared of what they would think of me. But then I realized when I'm myself and I'm true to myself, people like me. And so that helps you gain confidence. It's very circular, right? If you are true to yourself, you're more confident.
That's true. Okay, be reflective. Ooh, okay, so reflect. That makes me think of a mirror. So when you look at a mirror, Miss Chelsea, what happens?
You see yourself.
Oh, okay. So I want you to be reflective right now and think about maybe something you did today. And so when we reflect, we can think about our actions that we've done and think of what positive things we have done, or maybe even some negative things that we've done. And when we reflect, then we can improve or keep doing the things that we did well. So I think I can give you an example of being reflective. I know that sometimes I am really quick to say what I think, and sometimes that can come off as being unkind. So say, for example, if someone made something and they shared it with me, and then I think of maybe some like cookies. Actually, this happened the other day. A friend brought cookies to work, and he was sharing with everybody, and I took one of the cookies, and when I bit down into it, I know I made a face. A face that was not very kind, because his cookies were a bit hard and I like soft cookies. And I know that he saw my face when I bit into his cookie. So I was reflecting on the kind of facial expression that I made. And I could have been more kind by pretending to like the cookie, because I know that might have hurt his feelings.
Yeah. I'm with you, Miss Sally. That's happened to me before too. I sometimes can't control the way my face looks, but I have reflected on that and thought about it, and realized that I should be more careful. So it's a really important part of being yourself, because you learn more about yourself when you're reflective and you realize, like, I do this. And I think it's really easy. When you were telling me to give an example, we were thinking of examples of being reflective. It was so easy for me to think of the negative things I did today. But I tried really, really hard to think of the good things I did today too, because I think it's important to be happy and to remember the good things you did too when you're reflecting.
Especially sometimes you don't have people to tell you what you're doing right. So you have to be your own cheerleader sometimes and tell yourself that you're doing a good job.
Yeah, like, hey, I did that today and that was I did that, right? That's a really good way to think, and I think to build confidence and to be yourself.
Yep. This is a really important one, I think, Miss Chelsea, and that means to stand up for yourself. This is actually what we call an idiom, and it doesn't necessarily mean to stand up, but to say what you are thinking to protect yourself. So say, for example, and here we'll go to the example. When you stand up for yourself, especially when maybe someone is being rude to you, you say, hey, what you said to me was not nice and you made me feel sad. So that's you standing up for yourself. And a lot of times when you stand up for yourself, it lets the other person know that what they did was unkind, and it makes them be reflective and maybe change the way that they treat you.
Yeah, it is really so important. And I think Rajani was a good example of how to stand up for yourself while still being kind, because she just told her mother, no, Mom, this is a dry leaf. And she explained why she thought it was okay to paint a leaf brown. Because sometimes I think standing up for yourself can come across as, rude or something like that, which it shouldn't be. You should have the right to say what you want to say and to say that. So I think that there's two ways to stand up for yourself. One is like a kind and quiet way, like Rajani. And the other one is to be firm, because maybe you have to be, and that's okay too.
It just depends on the situation.
It does.
But I agree with you. Rajani is a great example of someone who is told that they might be doing something wrong, but they're explaining themselves in a kind way to show that they aren't. I really like this one. Accept yourself. When you accept yourself, it means that you are okay with who you are. And I think a lot of people tend to think only about the things that are negative about themselves and forget to love themselves. So when you accept yourself, you're showing yourself love. Now, that includes your positives and your negatives, things that maybe aren't perfect, but you're okay with that because that is you. So I know that, so I'll give you an example of something that I think is a little odd, but I'm okay with it. I know that when I speak Spanish, I think I get nervous when I speak Spanish, especially with my family, because their Spanish is perfect. So I stutter a lot in Spanish. And it has taken me a long time to be okay with that. But now I just think of it, that's just part of who I am. So I'm okay with my stuttering when I speak in Spanish. And so I accept that. It's what makes me unique.
Yeah, that's a really good example, because I think a lot of people might feel that way, and they're nervous to even speak the language they grew up speaking or a different language that they're learning. And if you're learning English, maybe you feel like you're not speaking perfectly. But if you're trying and you're giving, you're trying your best and you're able to be understood, I think it's just fine. There's really if you know one language already and you're learning another one that's English, you know way more words than somebody that only knows English. And so you should be proud of yourself and accept yourself, because that person that only knows English, maybe they know way less than you do. So even if it's not perfect, you still know more than them.
That is true. So yeah, remember guys, accept who you are, accept yourself.
Yeah, in my example, I sometimes am very chaotic in my thinking, and I can often just be all over the place, and kind of my brain will go this way and this way and this way and this way in 1 minute. And I think sometimes I used to think it was kind of bad, but now I think it makes me a creative person and somebody who's fun to be around sometimes, because you never know what I'm going to do next. And so I've learned to accept that for myself.
Yep, I agree. Okay, one last idea we wanted to share with you was about disagreement. And in the story, Rajani disagreed with her mom because her mom kept telling her, well, shouldn't your sky be blue? But Rajani painted it gray. Or shouldn't your apple be red? But Rajani was painting an unripe apple. So is it okay to disagree? What do you think, Ms. Chelsea?
I think it is okay to disagree. And, you know, especially when it's creative things like art, you know, it's really okay to think about how to do things differently and to disagree with people. But even in more complex ideas or more, you know, big ideas, it's definitely okay to disagree. But I think that there's ways to disagree and things we can say, especially in English or in all languages, but there are specific ways to say things in English that makes it so that you are disagreeing politely. And I think if you disagree politely, you're more likely to be heard. Because if somebody just thinks you're disagreeing with them without even thinking, they might not listen to you and might not want to listen to your opinion.
That's true. And so with that idea, Ms. Chelsea said the word opinion. And an opinion is what you believe, and it might not necessarily be true. So say, for example, ice cream. I would say my favorite ice cream flavor is strawberry, but maybe Ms. Chelsea's favorite ice cream flavor could be different. What's yours?
Sweet, and like I like salted caramel and chocolate.
Okay,
That's
so
a good
maybe
flavor.
we could say that my favorite is strawberry and your favorite is chocolate with caramel.
Yeah.
But that's our opinion, and that's okay. We can disagree, especially because I can get my own ice cream and you can get yours.
Exactly.
So, what can you do when you disagree? That's our question for today. And we thought we would give you a few sentence starters to politely disagree with people. So, the first one is acknowledging what they think. So, the first one says, I see your point, but. So, I'm going to go ahead and use our ice cream example, Miss Chelsea. I see your point about liking chocolate ice cream, but I like strawberry ice cream.
Yeah, that's a good. And you know, that word point actually reminds me of point of view. And I think they're related, right? So I see your point of view, but
Exactly.
That's great.
I see that in the story, Rajani always gave a reason for her disagreement. And so if I was going back to the ice cream idea, you can say you disagree because, so you're giving a reason. So I'm going to tell you, Miss Chelsea, why I disagree with you. I disagree with you because I think strawberries have a better flavor than chocolate. So that's me giving a reason.
Good.
Here's a couple more. One of them is, I feel differently because. So this one's about feelings. If you're, maybe somebody is telling you how they really like scary movies. So that has to do with feelings. So you could say, I feel differently because scary movies make me have nightmares or something. Like, again, you're giving a reason why you have a different feeling. Okay, this next one is about ideas. So again, I think Rajani had very different ideas than her mother. So we'll use one of her examples for this one. I have a different idea about how to draw my sun because I'm drawing my sun as it looks like in the morning, not during the middle of the day. So you can give a different idea in that way by saying, I have a different idea about.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope that these sentence frames will help you disagree with people in a polite way, especially about your feelings, your ideas, or just your opinion about something. So make sure that you are polite when you are disagreeing because honestly, it's okay to disagree and have different opinions. Okay, So we would like to give you a little bit of homework, and that is to make a painting or a drawing that shows how you are unique. So what makes you who you are? And we were talking about, for me, it's how I help families. So I could maybe draw a picture of myself greeting people at my school and saying hola when they come in, because I help them with Spanish. What would your drawing have, Miss Chelsea?
Oh, excuse me. I think I would have a picture of either teaching. I think teaching, I really like to be a teacher and to have my students maybe smiling and to be there with them. So I would maybe do that, something like teaching, or at a group of friends and have all my friends and family surrounding me and kind of having people, maybe I'm talking to somebody who's alone and everybody else is having fun. That could be something I could draw.
So think about things that Rajani did, and if you wanted to, besides making a drawing of what makes you unique, maybe just draw something that could be different than what other people usually draw. So you have some options. All right, everyone, we hope that you enjoyed our story about Rajani and her mother and disagreement. And thank you for always being here with us at Classroom Idaho with IPTV. And it has been really wonderful getting to be in your home again.
Thanks, guys.
Funding for Classroom Idaho has been provided by the Friends of Idaho Public Television, the Idaho Public Television Endowment, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
You're watching Idaho Public Television's Create channel, continuing education, how-tos, and travel programs for lifelong learners.